going on, guys? Here we are again, another race here at CBR, the Memorial Day Criterium. I guess this was a 3-day event. I didn't do the other days, so I didn't qualify for this stage race or anything, but I came out to do just the Criterium with a buddy of mine. We barely made it by the skin of our noses on time. My buddy forgot his jersey. He ended up having to wear like my jacket over his bibs. And then I had zero warm-up. I literally got my bike, rolled up the starting line, and off we went. It wasn't too bad. Pretty low numbers, not a huge turnout. There was probably maybe 25 to 30 people, so it wasn't too many people. So I just kind of treated these first couple laps to just kind of warming up. This is a different course than I did a couple of months ago, where it was the other side of the road. They switch between two courses. The other one I feel like is a little bit more difficult, has a much steeper of an incline before the finish. This one's much more flat. So kind of just was just hanging out here, trying to find out who is who. I'm on a new bike. I'm on a Specialized Allay. I just got that all finished up. And this is my first race out on it. Now this gentleman was letting gaps open up right from the get-go. I was kind of upset with it. I'm like, come on, man! Like, we're just starting. You're already letting this form up. Like, don't pass somebody if you're just gonna kind of let off. I mean, did it a couple times, but you know, it is what it is. We're Cat 5. I found out that I was supposed to have upgraded already. This is my 11th race. I thought that on the USA Cycling, like as you hit your 10th race, they automatically bumped you up, because that was the impression people kind of gave me. I didn't know that you actually had to request an upgrade. So this is my last Cat 5. I'll request an upgrade after this. I guess it was just my ignorance to that fact. So yeah, so this was my last one, but this was pretty cool because, like I said, it wasn't very crowded. It's pretty warm out. It's nice and sunny. As opposed to being some of the Cat 5 races, it seems like it's very, very early, and we're getting out, and it's just dark outside. So I was just going to be comfortable, just kind of sitting in. They had some preems, but they said they were points preems only, and so those only counted for the guys that were doing the long weekend race. So I didn't bother this time around going for any preems, because they're just for points, and I didn't need to get any preems for nothing, just to waste some energy. I tried pushing some other friends to come join me on this race, but no one wanted to go in. Everyone thinks it's scary and dangerous, but I mean, if you look, it's pretty low key. And because I'm on my new bike, instead of having my mount on my handlebars, on the Madone, it had this integrated mount where you could mount it on the handlebars. But on this Specialized Allay, I have the Aerofly bars that kind of pop up, and so there's not really a space to stick a GoPro on the bottom. So I ended up putting it on the top of the helmet. I kind of like the helmet better, because you actually see what the person's kind of looking at. You know, right here I'm looking at this guy with the Penguins jersey, kind of thinking to myself, like, dude, don't get beat by the guy with the Penguins. But you know, I just think it's a cooler view on the helmet versus the handlebars. The only downside is that even though the GoPros are very small, you still do feel that little bit of weight sometimes when it's really windy. But you kind of feel it just in general, because it's kind of sitting a little tall. You kind of can feel it, because I don't have the Hero. I have the Hero 4 Black. I don't have one of the small ones that a lot of the guys run right now.
Ring the bell for those Omnium point free.
So the average wattage for this ride, when it was all finished, ended up being like 206 watts, which is pretty. I feel like it's kind of low. I've had Criteriums that were much lower, like 184, but it felt pretty low My buddy said otherwise. He said it was kind of difficult. He said there was lots of surging, but I felt like it was pretty smooth. The pace wasn't very fast. I think the average speed was like 24 miles an hour. These races are pretty short. They're only about 24 minutes long, so I didn't really have an issue to it. I think right now I'm sitting about mid-pack. Right here there was a headwind, and coming out the other way, going down that other straight, there was kind of a headwind. So right here, it was kind of important to kind of find a wheel to tuck in behind. Surprisingly, this group was pretty well organized. I mean, right here we're kind of in a jumbled mess, but for the most part, I felt like we ended up getting some single file or double file lines, and sometimes I was caught on the outside, and it was very hard to kind of come back into the group. So right here, I'm kind of hanging out towards the back. I'm kind of looking for my my buddy that I invited to come out. He hadn't done a Criterium in a while. It was my first crit with him. We've done a couple road races together, but this is our first crit together, so I was kind of looking for him. Yeah, right here, there guys going for the preems. It was a gentleman riding for Lagrange. He, I guess he had done pretty well in the other stages, so he wanted to win all the preems. There's my boy that kind of leaves those gaps kind of wide open. So here I'm trying to close the gap. I don't feel like there's gonna be a breakaway, but I feel like if there's a group of 10, they're gonna get away if you don't, step up. So right here, I'm trying to make sure I don't get set off into a further back group and have to do too much work. Right here, again, it gets kind of headwinding downhill, so I was kind of relying on these guys to bridge it back up, and they did. And like, I don't think anything's gonna get away, but I don't want to get caught off guard and have to do a giant, effort to get myself back up to these, to this group. And CBR's courses are all pretty nice. The gutters are always kind of like how you saw the smoother gutters, and the course is very wide, as you can see. So that's kind of always nice. Sometimes I've done some races where they have it, half the street coned off, and so you can't go into the other side. But right here, we got the whole street, so that's always cool. CBR's always got a real good setup. And that's my son yelling in the background. If you hear that, that's what's going on. But yeah, if you haven't done a crit and you want to do a Criterium, I highly suggest CBR being one of. I would say this would be a crit you should do if it's going to be your first crit, because they have so many of them. I don't feel like you get as much of people coming out like you would like the Dana Point Grand Prix or the Manhattan Beach. Like for that one, a lot of people come out and it's a little bit more intense. But these ones, because a lot of these guys have done it multiple times, they know the course, it seems to be a little bit more mellow, and it typically doesn't have super big numbers of people. So I think this is a great Criterium to try. And also, it's not technical at all. There's my buddy Chris right there, sporting my jacket with the bib number on it. I think we'll get a little peek at it. He was kind of in a predicament. He didn't know what to do. He was asking people if they had jerseys. He was going to buy a jersey, so he had a t-shirt on, and I said, dude, just put my jacket on, my Bontrager jacket, and just stick numbers to it, and just do what you got to do. But again, like, this course isn't very technical, so it's not a course that you feel like you could get hurt on. There's my boy letting that gap open up again. Sweet. It's coming around him a little bit. And one thing that I've noticed when I'm doing racing, I mean, maybe other people do, but like, I never look down at my Garmin. I'm just always kind of riding. I know some people do look at their Garmin because they got to monitor their heart rate and stuff like that, but in a race like this, I'm never looking down at my Garmin. Sometimes I look down just to see how much time has elapsed, because that's how these races go, elapsed time, and then they give you a final lap count, when it's coming down towards the end, so you know how many laps are left. I mean, it's totally different. When you go out and ride with your friends and stuff like that, you're always kind of looking down at your Garmin. But when you're out in a race, yeah, I'm never peeking at my Garmin. That's just me. You know, I don't have time to look down at my numbers, see how many watts I'm putting out. On a road race, sometimes you do get a little bit more time to kind of gauge out your stuff, but in a crit, usually it's a little bit too intense to be peeking down. There's my buddy. He doesn't look too bad, right? Jersey with or a jacket with a number. I mean, it's a little different, but looks all right. So I think right now I'm pretty much in the back. There's I think one guy behind me. So you can see the numbers aren't huge today. It's not like a big group. So again, good race for my friend to come back to do a race. Not a lot of people. I just feel like when there's less people, you just kind of can ride a little bit more relaxed. You don't feel as anxious, I guess, per se. And I have to say, I'm pretty pleased overall with the bike. You know, having an aluminum bike, I went from having a Trek Madone, I think it was like the 9.5. It was the full carbon integrated, you know, bar and stem with the carbon wheels, and I like that bike. But anytime I came out to a race, to be honest with you, I always kind of thought through my mind, man, if I crash and I break my bike, like let's say, you know, I damage the carbon really bad, that enough that you should replace the bike rather than fix it. You know, I'm not in the financial position to be replacing a race bike that, you know, if you try to turn around and buy the replacement, it's going to cost you anywhere from $6,000 to $9,000. So I was kind of hesitant on buying the LA Sprint disc because, you know, it's aluminum and, you know, that whole thing of it weighs a little bit more. You know, you're going to lose some power. But to be honest with you, I don't feel anything any different. I think the biggest difference was on my Trek, I had Vision wheels that were kind of, I would say, lower end carbon wheels, and then I went out and bought some Bontrager AEOS 5 wheels, which, to be honest, I think were a big upgrade compared to what I was running on my Trek. So I'm very pleased with the setup on this LA being aluminum. I don't notice anything. I've done a couple climbs and it seems to be fine too. So I'm just kind of in the thing, you know, it's, you know, 85% rider, you know, 15% bike when it comes to riding. But that's me. Some people are going to tell you there's other stuff that's a little bit more important. But, you know, I'm not on that level of pro or, you know, the little tiny things that make a huge difference in your performance. I do feel like a good set of wheels and a good drivetrain that runs smooth and doesn't have a lot of friction. I feel like that's going to be the biggest difference in your riding, in my opinion. So here's my boy with the one that was opening up some gaps. He's here out front. It's kind of getting close towards the end, so I'm wanting to find a wheel that I can just kind of cruise around on. Want to be towards the front. That way I can have some kind of a sprint finish. So you can kind of see right here the speed comes down a little bit, the power comes down. You know, you can tell he's not going super hard. I'm just kind of waiting for the next thing to happen. So I'm content again, just sitting right here, not having to do any work, just kind of waiting for the next move to come around. All right, so here we coming into the final lap. I looked at this kid on the giant jersey here in front of me, pegged him as a good wheel. I was also kind of keeping my eye out for the guys on the Lagrange jerseys because I knew the gentleman up there with the Lagrange jersey and the black helmet, he was trying to win the whole series, so I figured he would kind of go for it. But again, I was okay sitting on this guy's wheel here with in the giant jersey. Didn't want to get too far back. I think I'm kind of like 7th or 8th wheel. I just knew right up here it's going to get single file, and I figured I would do my sprint pretty much coming out of the last corner, which I should have done earlier. So right here they pick it up a little bit. I was just wanted to make sure I didn't get swarmed by anybody. Again, they start to go light on the pedals right here. I should have moved around, but I didn't. I was just kind of worried about being the guy up front that ends up getting, passed at the very end because you're up front doing all the effort. So stuck on this guy's wheel. Didn't really see anything threatening going yet. He was providing the good wheel right here, and then he kind of let up a little bit. I didn't see anything happening, but I was okay. What's going to happen here? So I stayed, and then I could see this guy coming up on my left, and I think he's wearing a PRT jersey. So I was gonna follow this up, and I should have gone around him right here and gone up to the guy up there in first because he ends up getting away, getting a decent gap. I start my sprint right here. I should have started it further back because I had plenty of energy and I probably could have battled for first, but you live and you learn. So 2nd place, not a bad day. It's always good when you don't crash. So I was excited about getting 2nd. It's my best result so far. That's pretty much it. Thank you.